You dream of reaching new horizons, of seeing each vision God has planted in you take shape. You long to live boldly, just as God promises in His Word, to rise above what holds you back and live with purpose. But this kind of life calls for more than a passing commitment. It asks you to give your whole heart every day with faith that doesn't falter. Bring every effort before God, knowing that His power within you can accomplish far more than you could ever plan on your own. Step beyond what your mind believes is possible. God isn't limited by the boundaries we set for ourselves. Believe that each step you take in faith brings you closer to the incredible life God has in store for you. This is your moment to choose a path that leads upward, one that is grounded in God's purpose. Work with all you have, drawing strength from Him each day. Aim for greater heights, lifting your heart in every effort in faith, trusting that God is working through you to make the impossible real. When you choose to rise early to pray, when you stay longer to serve, or when you commit yourself fully while others rest, some people won't get it. They may think you're being too intense, maybe even too serious about your faith, and they might question your motives. They might say things behind your back, casting doubt on your dedication. But keep this close. You're not doing any of this for their understanding or approval. You're doing it for God, and He sees every quiet sacrifice you make. He knows the strength it takes to go against the grain, to press on even when others question you, and He won't let that go unnoticed. So how do we deal with people who don't support us or who misunderstand? It's actually pretty simple. We don't fight back. We don't waste energy explaining or defending ourselves. We don't even need to answer them. Instead, we keep going, letting our lives speak for us. Our actions, acts of kindness, moments of service, and dedication to what is good and right will say far more than any words. In fact, those actions will speak so clearly that people can't help but see who we really are and who we live for. Living this way is what it means to follow Christ truly. Being a true disciple isn't about debating or pointing out the flaws in others. It's about staying focused on what we're called to do. We don't need to keep track of what others are doing or how they see us. Our purpose isn't found in their opinions. It's found in God's calling for us. So we keep working with focus, trusting God's plan, and dedicating ourselves to what He has set out for us to accomplish. It's not about outpacing the world, it's about drawing close to Christ. Why does that matter? Because many people settle for a surface-level faith. They admire from a distance, but few are ready to live out what they believe, to get uncomfortable for God. While some post about faith or make plans to deepen it, very few are committed to the daily grind it takes to truly grow. Many step back as soon as the road gets tough. They avoid the narrow path that requires more prayer, more study, more time. It's not easy. It's not convenient. And yes, it's often a road you travel alone. But here is where you stand apart, where your journey gains meaning in ways others might overlook. When you're pressing on in the quiet moments while others choose to rest, you're investing in something lasting. These small choices, the moments others brush off, are where faith grows deeper and stronger. The seeds you plant in prayer, in study, in perseverance will yield a harvest beyond what others can see. By staying faithful even in solitude, you're on a path that leads to a purpose only God can reveal. In time, you'll look back and see how far you've come, reaching heights that might have seemed unreachable. The foundation of your success isn't just hard work. It's a heart devoted to God, honoring Him with each effort, trusting Him with each step. That's where true strength lies. No one ever reached the height of their calling without facing obstacles that tested their endurance and grit. Every challenge is a chance to build strength and deepen your commitment to the path God has set before you. So don't shy away from the work. Give it everything you've got, knowing that your efforts and faith are seeds the Lord will grow into a harvest beyond what you can imagine. Those who came before us, who lived boldly in their faith, didn't get there by accident. They kept pushing forward, never letting their passion cool, never letting doubt creep in. They didn't allow criticism to shake them or the world's judgment to throw them off track. They blocked out the noise, focused on fulfilling the purpose that God had uniquely crafted for their lives. When people look down on you, laugh, or doubt, don't let their words steal your peace or purpose. Instead, keep moving, knowing that the quiet power of God working in your life will speak louder than any criticism. A life transformed by Christ shines brighter than anything they can say. If your actions flow from faith, and if your heart stays rooted in God, He will let your success and joy do the talking. So why let the words of others matter? Let them see, through your unwavering commitment and the fruits of your labor, the evidence of God's hand in your life. Their words may be loud, but a faithful life grounded in Christ speaks louder. When you start aligning your life with God's will, pursuing the purpose He has uniquely set for you, things begin to shift. Sometimes friends who once seemed close may feel distant, not quite understanding where you're headed or why you're choosing this path. They might say things like, "Who do you think you are? What makes you believe you can live this way? You're acting like you're better than everyone else." Comments like these can sting, especially when they come from people you once felt close to. But know this, you're not aiming to live by the standards of those who've chosen to stay comfortable or stay the same. You're reaching toward a higher calling. People who stay in places of comfort often talk from a place of doubt or fear. They're living out of their own limits, unable to see beyond what they've known. But those limits are not yours to carry. Their words don't define who you are or what you're capable of in Christ. God has called you His own, and He set a path that only you can walk. His approval is what truly matters, and with Him by your side, the impossible starts to become possible. Faith isn't just about believing. It's about seeing the divine opportunities that God has woven into your life, even when no one else can see them. Faith is what lets you look past obstacles, past the doubts of others, and recognize that with God, new doors are opening. Faith is where your vision connects with God's purpose, turning what seems impossible into a new reality, a reality He's been waiting for you to step into. Every person who has made a mark in the world, who has lived out a calling, has stood out in some way. They don't just see what's in front of them, they see what's possible. When people say you can't do it, your answer should be simple. Watch what God can do through me. I came to understand early on that I wasn't the sharpest, most gifted, or most connected person in the room. I didn't have those advantages, but what I did have, and what I could control, was my commitment to God and my willingness to pour myself into His purpose for me. Some people with natural talents find their path comes easily, but they also face their own battles. Sometimes the gift itself can feel like a weight. For those of us who've had to work for every blessing, there's a deep, quiet strength that builds over time. Maybe you recognize this. Perhaps you've looked at yourself and thought, "Lord, I may not have been given all the gifts others seem to have. Looks, talent, a sharp mind, or a quick wit. But you've given me a spirit that doesn't quit, a heart that keeps going no matter what." When we follow Christ, striving for excellence means going beyond our comfort zone. It's about doing more than we thought we could through God's strength. This looks like showing up to serve, reaching out to help someone in need, or giving a little extra time to prayer and the Word. Whatever the call, aim to take that extra step. It's in that step that God moves in ways we can't even imagine. True champions of faith don't settle for the minimum. They put their whole heart into what they do for God. It's not just about meeting expectations. It's about going further, reaching deeper, and giving that extra bit that comes from love and devotion. When you're praying, let those last few minutes be the most heartfelt, opening yourself to God's presence as you wait, listen, and draw closer to Him. When you volunteer, don't look at the clock. Stay as long as you're needed, pouring your effort into the task. When you read the Bible, don't just skim through the verses. Linger on a passage, letting its meaning sink in, guiding you closer to God's truth. This extra step, this choice to dig deeper, is what sets a person of faith apart. It's a reflection of true commitment, and it brings a powerful reward, one that can't be measured in numbers or achievements, but in the peace and strength that only God gives. Pushing ourselves to do more for the Lord opens us up to blessings we might never expect. When you're willing to take that extra step, to give a little more of your time, energy, and heart, you're not just meeting a goal, you're embracing the life God has designed for you. Paul the Apostle urged us to press on, to keep moving toward the goal that God has set before us. This isn't about chasing some kind of earthly achievement, but about aligning our lives with the purpose He's put in us. By doing this, we build a spirit that doesn't easily give up, a faith that can face down doubts and overcome obstacles no matter how big they seem. We see the heroes of faith in the Bible who didn't stop halfway. They pursued God with everything they had. And in their example, we find our own call to live fully committed, to go beyond what's comfortable, and to trust that God's rewards are worth every ounce of effort we give. You may not be the fastest, the smartest, or the strongest, but that doesn't define your strength. What sets you apart is the unshakable dedication to keep going because you trust that God is with you. When others pull back, your faith will ground you like a steady anchor. When others hesitate, you'll step forward with courage, guided by the purpose God has placed in your heart. Each act of faith, each moment of pressing forward shines a light that speaks louder than words. It shows a spirit that can't be broken. You have the commitment to do more for God's kingdom, and that will stand out, not because of how far or how fast you go, but because you keep going. With God by your side, every challenge you meet becomes an opportunity to grow stronger, braver, and more certain of His power in your life. That's how you find victory in Christ. You keep seeking Him, relying on His strength and trusting in His promises. You press on, knowing that as long as you hold on to Him, His purpose will unfold in your life in ways that you could never accomplish on your own. There are many who start with excitement, but true faith shows up in those who stay committed, who stand firm, no matter how long it takes. Every mountain in your way becomes a chance to experience God's power, and you will see it move. When others are shaken, you'll remain steady. When others let go, you'll hold on, knowing that Christ's strength is enough for every step you take. While you can't control what others say or do, you can turn every uncertainty over to God in prayer. You can step forward in faith, moving past doubt and discouragement because God's strength carries you through. Let your trust in Him be unshakable. Keep moving forward, trusting, believing, and persevering. And as you press on with God's guidance, you'll break through every barrier and see the dreams He's placed in you come to life. To bring real change into your life, begin by turning your attention toward what you feel most drawn to improve, and let that desire grow into a vision aligned with God's purpose for you. Imagine you're hoping to improve your health but feel stuck or discouraged. Maybe this is because your focus has shifted toward what's wrong, rather than leaning on God's strength and care. Instead of letting frustration grow, center your thoughts on God's support and allow Him to be the guiding force behind your effort to make positive choices. It's easy to let doubts and distractions pull us away, but when we keep our eyes fixed on Christ, we find the courage to press forward. Trusting in His direction gives us the strength to step beyond fear and embrace new possibilities. Often people spend more time wrestling with their fears than reaching for their dreams, but God calls us to fix our focus on His promises and to hold on to the good desires He places within us. With our hearts and minds set on Him, we'll see doors open and grow in ways we never expected. Instead of letting fear or doubts hold us back, let's turn our focus to the good things God has prepared for us. When we focus on what we truly want to see in our lives, like peace, strength, and joy, we begin to imagine a future filled with God's promises. This isn't about wishful thinking, but about setting our minds on the direction God is calling us toward. A vision that's grounded in faith will draw us closer to God's plan and make it easier to rely on His strength instead of our own. So, what is God inviting you to pursue? Take a moment to think honestly about your spiritual life. Where does He want you to grow, to move, to become more like Him? Imagine a future so full of God's goodness that you wake up each day excited to live it out. Picture this vision inspiring every part of you, bringing purpose and meaning that fills you with new energy. As you commit every area of your life, whether it's your health, emotions, time, or relationships, to God's hands, you'll begin to see life with fresh clarity and strength. This focus on God's will fuels your heart and mind, empowering you to take real steps in faith. But how do we know we're on the right track? One way is to look at those who have gone before us in faith, people who walked closely with God and left a lasting legacy. The road we're walking has already been walked by many faithful servants, and their wisdom can guide us. There's no need to struggle alone when we can learn from their experiences. God leaves signs of His faithfulness in the lives of others. These clues help us see what it means to live a life centered on His love. So, find the people who have grown in their relationship with God, learn from their journeys, take the practices that worked for them, and make them your own. This way, you're building on a foundation of faith rather than just guessing. Let their steps guide you as you walk the path God has prepared for you, confident that you are following a road proven by faith. Emotions are a powerful gift from God, woven deeply into our spirit. They are the fuel behind our actions, the spark that drives us toward purpose. When our hearts are filled with the joy of the Lord, this joy becomes a fountain of creativity and warmth that can touch lives and uplift those around us in ways we may never fully see. Even in times when financial strain weighs heavy, Our faith stirs a deep resilience, guiding us to keep going and trust in God's provision. The world may tell us we have too little, that we're not enough, that limits define us, but with God we live in possibilities that have no end. At the heart of this message is the truth that our choices shape who we become. If our choices build our future, then what are you focusing on in this very moment? Every day we make a choice, whether we realize it or not, to see our circumstances in one light or another. Once we make that choice, we give it meaning, and that meaning shapes our emotions. Will you see a setback as a dead end or as a new chapter? Will you see a challenge as a burden or as God's invitation to grow? These meanings create the emotions that guide our actions. So today, choose carefully. Choose to see your life as full of God's promises, ready to reveal something greater, because the emotions that follow are powerful enough to change the course of your life and impact others along the way. Reflect on your life for a moment. Each choice you've made, whether big or small, has left its mark, shaping the direction you've traveled. At first, the idea of decisions determining our destiny might seem daunting, but when you really look back, can you see how one choice, one moment, might have led you somewhere entirely different? Maybe it was a job that brought you into the path of someone who became your family, or a single yes or no that redirected the course of your career. These choices, while ours to make, are woven into a much greater plan, God's design for us. And every decision is a step in following His purpose, just as Jesus called His disciples to follow Him, setting an example of obedience and faith. Every choice is an opportunity to live out that calling, to make a difference in the lives around us. Think about how powerful it is to stand up for what's right, even when it's hard. When someone chooses to speak up, to say, "No, I won't be silenced," that act of courage goes beyond changing their own path. It reaches out, impacting the lives of others, inspiring and empowering them too. That strength isn't just about bravery. It's fueled by a deep faith, a sense of purpose, and trust in God's plan. Our lives and the world around us are shaped by these choices, which God uses to guide and grow us. Throughout my life, I've met people whose deep trust in God has allowed them to change lives around them in ways they never imagined. These stories all point to one truth. When we let the Lord be our source of strength, we can face and conquer anything. No obstacle feels insurmountable because we're no longer running on our own energy, but on His limitless power. What shapes your relationship with Christ? Two powerful influences silently guide you: the condition of your heart and the way you see life through faith. We've all had those moments where we look back on what we did or said with regret, wondering, why did I react like that? How could I have acted in a way that doesn't feel true to who I am? In those moments, it's not about a lack of faith. It's about the state of your heart at that particular time. Over time, the strength of your faith and how deeply you know God's truth start to transform the way you live and respond to life's ups and downs. Faith becomes like a lens, shaping your view of the world and your reactions to it. To genuinely reach and understand someone, we need to grasp what's already guiding them. Three vital elements help shape this understanding: the unique purpose God has planted in you, how you go about serving Him in your life, and the spiritual nourishment you take in to grow closer to Him. When we pay attention to these, we not only deepen our walk with Christ, but also become stronger vessels for His love and truth in the lives of others. It's natural to want assurance, to crave comfort in uncertain times, and it's easy to look for these things in ways that feel safe or familiar. We often lean on the promises of God to find a way through life's struggles. But how do we really find the deep peace we're searching for? Some of us try to manage every part of our lives, thinking that if we keep everything under control, we'll be safe from pain. Others turn to quick fixes, habits or distractions that offer comfort for a while but leave us empty in the end. The peace we're looking for doesn't come from these things. Real peace begins with trusting God with our lives and using the gifts He's given us. Stability is something we all want, but when we try to make everything predictable, we risk losing that spark of faith that comes from stepping into the unknown with God. God, in His wisdom, allows change and variety in our lives so we're not stuck or stagnant. Instead, we're growing, learning, and leaning on Him more deeply. Each one of us has a need to feel valued, to know we matter and are unique. But this significance isn't found in what we own or in the things we accomplish. It's found in our relationship with God and in the way we choose to serve others. The world will offer shortcuts to feeling important, promising a sense of worth through things that fade or even harm us. But these paths only take us further from the lasting purpose we find when we're rooted in God's love. True significance shines when we genuinely live out Christ's love, not just in words but through actions that reflect His kindness and compassion to everyone we encounter. Every heart longs for connection, and deep down, we all want to know that we're loved and that we matter. Real love can seem overwhelming at times, yet it's in God's love that we find who we truly are and what we're meant to be. Chasing after quick pleasures, whether by filling our lives with things like smoking, drinking, or any other temporary escape, only leaves us empty in the end. These things can distract us, but they never satisfy the soul's real need. Real fulfillment comes when we're committed to growing in faith, becoming more open and responsive to God's presence in our lives. When we don't grow, life starts to feel hollow, like something crucial is missing. But growth isn't just for our own good. It's a gift we're meant to pass along. Our faith matures so we can give more of ourselves to others, building them up and spreading hope. The Bible teaches that it's far more blessed to give than to receive. This reveals a powerful truth. A life filled with meaning is one where we pour out what we've been given, finding joy in sharing God's love with others. And so, beloved, may you find peace in the quiet strength that comes from a heart anchored in God's purpose. Each choice you make, each act of faith brings you closer to the extraordinary life He has crafted just for you. Take hold of His promises with unwavering trust, knowing that no step of obedience, no moment of sacrifice goes unnoticed. You're not here to meet the world's standards, but to fulfill a calling far greater than any earthly measure. So keep moving forward, fueled by a love that cannot be shaken, reaching for heights that only God can reveal. Thank you for listening and for allowing these words to touch your heart. I invite you now to join me in prayer, opening ourselves to His guidance, that our paths may be aligned with His purpose and our steps empowered by His strength. Dear Lord, today we open our hearts to the dreams You've entrusted to us, the dreams that linger quietly in our souls, waiting for courage to bring them into the light. These dreams might seem too vast, too delicate, or beyond us, yet we know You placed them within us for a purpose. Guide us, Lord, to step forward in faith, to live boldly and with conviction, trusting that these longings are not ours alone, but whispers of Your divine calling. Help us to embrace them fully, not with hesitant steps, but with the strength to give everything we are, knowing that we were made for this journey. Teach us, Lord, to break through the walls we've built within ourselves, walls of self-doubt, of lingering fears, of voices that say we're not enough. Show us how to lean not on our strength but on Yours, to walk into spaces we would never dare to go alone. Remind us that we are made for more than a life of comfort, and that each act of faith brings us closer to the potential You set before us. And as we walk this path, Lord, let us remember that not everyone will understand the journey You've given us. Protect our hearts from the sting of criticism and the weight of others' judgments. Help us instead to keep our gaze fixed on You, knowing that Your love, Your approval, is what our hearts truly need. Let our lives speak of You in every action, every moment. Let kindness, humility, and generosity be our response, a witness that words alone cannot express. Guide us, Lord, along the narrow path that demands more than superficial devotion. Draw us into the quiet places where true discipleship is born, where faith finds depth and purpose. And when the road grows steep and lonely, remind us that these trials are part of following You, that the journey is worth the cost, and that You are with us, even in the solitude. Help us see challenges not as obstacles but as sacred opportunities to grow in faith and strength. When we struggle, teach us to rely on You, to find reserves of resilience we never knew we had, knowing that each trial brings us closer to You and builds a faith that is unbreakable. Fill our hearts with hope that rises beyond what we see, grounding us in the promises You've made. Lord, may we live for the calling You've placed upon our lives, even when it means setting aside the world's values, even when it means standing apart. Help us to trust in the beauty of Your plan, even when it is hidden from view. In our moments of doubt, remind us that we belong to You, created to live with purpose, to leave a legacy of faith, hope, and love. Make our faith come alive, Lord, not just in words or moments, but as a constant force that moves us to love and serve beyond measure. Let our actions reflect a love for You that is real, that is unyielding, that is willing to go beyond what's easy or comfortable. Draw us close when life feels heavy and emotions swell. Grant us a peace that is beyond understanding, a joy rooted in the certainty that we are held by you. Align our hearts with yours, shaping our desires and dreams until we reflect your love in every choice and every step. And finally, Lord, may our lives be a canvas of your grace, a story painted with courage, with truth, and with the light that only you can give. Let every decision, every act of faith bring us closer to the fulfillment of your purpose. May we shine with the legacy of a life surrendered, a life fully given to you. In Jesus' precious name we pray. Amen.